All right. Um, Today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately, right? Um, it's waiting. Waiting for something to happen, waiting for answers, waiting for life to finally make sense, right? Um, it's something we all been through, but no one really teaches us how to deal with it. And honestly, it's one of the really um, it's one of the hardest things I think to go through because the moment it feels like nothing's happening, but I've learned the waiting thing is wasting time, but sometimes is where real growth is happens, right? Um, I want to talk about patience, awareness, and just trusting the process. Um, from the and I want to break it down into points I want to make, right? Number one, it's just stories that I want to talk about and experiences I had. My middle school friend, in the lessons I took from him. I had this friend back in middle school where he was one of the smartest kids I knew, right? And I had always, I knew I always ahead in class. And all right, cut that down. I had this friend, right? Back in middle school, he was one of the smartest kids I knew, and always ahead in class, and always pushing himself. But he had this one big thing he struggled with, and he was short, right? And like really short. But in middle school, when everyone starts to growing, that kind of thing, you can get to you, right? He hated it, and he used to always say, "I just want to grow already," right? And I feel like I'm stuck like this forever. He said, he would look at other kids and get frustrated, like life had just decided to leave him behind, right? Um, and it wasn't just about the height, no, right? It was about the feeling that he was left out. No, like he was waiting for something that might have never happened, but and the worst part was that no one could tell him that when it would change, or he would ask, whenever he would ask the doctor, his parents, everyone just told him that, you know, anytime now, right? Um, but when you're the one waiting, those words don't, they don't feel like enough, right? Um, then one summer, right, we didn't see each other for a while, for a couple of months, and um, when I got to school again, I barely recognized him because he had grown so much, and like he looked completely different person, right? Like a completely different person, and but what really got to me was something that he said. He told me that you know he told me I wasted so much time being mad at something I couldn't control, and then when it finally happened, he realized that the stress mattered, and I think that's one of the big things, right? Um, because how often do we do the same thing, right? Um, and we get so caught up on in wanting something to happen, and fast. And but what if waiting was an empty time, right? What if it actually was part of something bigger? It's like when you plant something, you don't see anything at first, but deep down on the ground, the roots are growing. And just because you don't see progress doesn't mean nothing's happening, right? Um, and I want to share a book, one of my favorite books that I read um, a long time ago. It's called Tuesday with Morris. it doesn't have a front cover. It came like this. But it's Tuesday with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Um, and it's one of my favorites books, right? You don't have to read it, but it's about this professor, right? His name is Morrie, who's dying. He's a former student, and his former student comes back to spend time with him, right? And throughout the book, Morrie talks about lives and how people are always rushing, always chasing something, and never really stopping to just to just be, right? And one of the big parts that stuck with me is was when he said most people are running around chasing the wrong things, and they don't even realize until it's too late, right? And and that hit me because that's exactly what we do when we're waiting for things, and being anxious, and we spend all this time being anxious and worrying about what's next instead of actually living, right? And but what if we just trusted the process, and what if we just stop treating waiting like wasting time, and instead of use to it, use to it to grow, right, and reflect and enjoy it. What's right in front of us, right? There you go. Same. It's a it's a great book. It's one of my favorites. Um, and I think a lot of us, especially right now, um, are in that phase of waiting for college decisions, waiting for life to start, waiting for um, to feel like we're finally where we're supposed to be, and of course it's scary, but I realized that um, that 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 some of it isn't always something that you can't see at the moment, but when you look back at it, you realize that even in the waitings, it's even uncertainty that you become who you're meant to be, right? Um, so if you're in that space right now where you feel like nothing's happening, um, just remember you're growing even when you don't see it yet, right? And lastly, I want to talk about I had this moment not too long ago where I was really overthinking about everything, right, or college, my future, and everything. And out of nowhere, my grandma called me in, and she didn't say anything about these things, right? Just asked me how I was doing, and told me a random story about her day, and we laughed about something dumb, right? But after I hung up, I realized that I felt lighter, right, and nothing had changed, and I still had to wait. You know, I still had no answers. I still had to wait, right? And but that one simple conversation reminded me that life is happening right now and not just in the future. If that makes sense, right? Towards the waiting part, and that just simple conversation that you could have with someone in your life, right? It's just like a distraction. And that made me wonder how many moments like that do we miss out because we're too busy thinking about what's next, right? And also, I got this hoodie from my school. It's a senior hoodie. I got it today. It cost me $35. These are all the names from the students from my school. But yeah, it's new, right? That's something I want to share. Another, yeah. But yeah, that'll be all, right? My thoughts and experiences I had. Yeah, and about I'll be talking about more things, more new things. Before I grow up and become neurosurgeon, obviously, right? Thank you.